into another investigation here. Now, what you've got here is a Constitutional Reform and Governance Act 2010. That is a significant piece of UK legislation that reformed, right? Again, you're saying reform again, right? Aspects of civil service and established all this, right? Now, this is quite a major thing, right, in the past few years, because as you know, right, 2010 was basically before, you know, all this sort of mass immigration took a hold, right? Now, what it's done, right, what this legislation stuff done, was basically give control of the running of the country, right? To basically civil servants, right? So basically, what you had after this act was passed, right? And then all of a sudden you started getting Pakistani-run councils, foreign-run, Lord Mayors, foreigner standards, Lord Mayors, all this type of stuff, after this particular act, right? It's all worded in this bill that so basically it handed over the running of the country to civil servants, right? Who then became, and then they combined that with the DEI, right? Which was the hiring of minorities at the time, peoples that were called minorities, to give them representation in this country, right? And then basically from there, these DEI ones and that took over from inside civil service. So as you see, regarding treaty making and civil service management, right? So there's a lot of hidden stuff in this particular act thing, right? But basically what that means is that your government people, who's obviously on the TV and in the news all the time, are not even running the place, right? You've got a civil service framework what's actually running the place, right? And most of these are foreigners now, right? So that's what's going on, like, as I say, 2010, right? And then look at what happened after 2010. And now we've got basically the places run by foreigners in Britain. Now look at the wording of it here, right? It says in an act of the Parliament of the United Kingdom, right? Now that's not that they were the British peoples or British law, right? An act of the Parliament of the United Kingdom on constitutional law. Now that's the proper law, right? So it's an act upon the law which affected the civil service and the ratification of treaties. Now, what's all that about? What's a ratification of treaties, right? You're talking about all these treaties that they've got with foreign lands, right? Which they didn't sort of tell the public about. But they've got treaties with India, Pakistan, Nigeria, stuff like this, where they're drawing up these type of contracts and that, right? To allow all these people in. So it's like you're done in secret, right? So this is like acts of treason again. The day this act is an act of treason upon the British peoples. And it's led to where foreigners taken over from within the civil service. They're running the councils and the local authorities, right? They've got the hands on the purse strings of tax money. So of course they're channeling it into helping their own peoples take over, right? So you're talking about this is an ultimate act of treachery against the British peoples. So basically you can see how this ties in with the present the Reform Party, right? You see the treaties idea, right? The treaties become international agreements, covenants and exchanges. So it's to do with internationalism, right? So it's to do with obviously foreigners and all that, right? So that's definitely what this was about. After 2010, you saw all the changes in Britain and all that, right? And as you see there, the one fears out the last of hereditary peers. Or maybe keep them, I don't know. Gordon Brown. Gordon Brown, of course, was useless. I was like, so as you can see, this is a real terrible act type of thing. The act, and Ponsonby Rule. So all the stuff is there. And then it was the day with that as well. So obviously it was the day we're settling in new, foreigners in Britain after 2010, right? And as you know the rest is history. Like, but this initial act of settlement, 1701, see, that was only to do with like actual British people and people from like the surrounding vicinity, like maybe France, Denmark, and stuff like that, right? So it certainly wasn't factoring in people from Africa and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? It was, that was like for the British people's benefit, the original act in 1700. And then obviously after 2010 it becomes something against the best interests of the British people. So civil service become run by foreigners now, as you know. You can see it now. You can see if you go past civil service buildings and that, you can see them coming out, who comes out. Out now wearing burqas or whatever you call it. So evil as, right? And an exemption for members of the royal family, of course, which is crazy. And non-dom status for UK tax purposes. So this is an evil little piece of legislation. So basically that act come about 2010, then 2018. They founded this reforms thing and started up. And this, of course, the COVID-19 thing was very instrumental in actually reforming the physical land with obviously, load of bloody foreigners, millions. So again, this reforms party is part of the agenda, the internationalist agenda. So as you see, when they call foreigners ethnic minority, this is not the case anymore now. As you know, these ethnic majority, these are the true ethnic minorities are native Britons in their own land. As you know, when you go on the boots anywhere basically now. So you've got these basically taken over. As you see there, the 54.2% of civil servants are women, probably Indian women or Muslim. So they've took over now using that DEI thing, right? And they've basically taken over the running of the country. From within, of course, the results is obvious. If you walk around any towns in Britain, if you remember back to when the Gordon Brown was in office, right, he was in a psyop. Of course, he called Brown, right? All worked out as a psyop, right? And he called this woman who was like a bigoted woman. It was like a sort of a working class Britain woman or something. They said it was like a bigot. So again, it's like, you think how long this psyop's been going on type of thing, like demonise any opposition to multiculturalism and all, like, using the word bigots, and of course it's escalated to racist now, They use obviously the term racist for everything. Any opposition to obviously having your lands taken off you. And Mitch is worried for migrants, right? And that was with countless years ago. So of course it's escalated out of all proportions now. But they've been playing the same psyop, as you say, for a long time. It was 2010, but just before we put the act in. Yeah, I come across this one with orange jumper. And obviously big scruffy beard and that, you know, you look like a Muslim or something. Professor Tim Wilson. And this video is called More Racism from Reform UK. Yeah. Of course, if you read the comments thing, it's all, it's all like an anti-racism thing. Like this bloke, this Professor Tim Wilson, is a total like liberal type of idea. And that's what not. I mean, this Reform Party is it's all full of Muslims, right? So how the hell do you come to the conclusion that it's racist or right wing? You know what I mean? I don't know. But the agenda, the overall agenda is anti-racism, right? Everything that's against. The basis of this video, right, is the Reform Council said a joke about Nigerians, right? Like obviously type of joke they used to tell in the 70s about Nigerians or something, right? And this sort of Professor Tim Wilson book takes it all, how outrageous and all this, like racism is and all this. I mean, like, this person, right, obviously is a liberal, upper middle class, probably lives in the Cotswolds or something, never probably even met an immigrant or seen one, in real life, right? Of course they get all so outraged, on behalf of Nigerians, because the characters live in a fantasy world, If us real ones live in the real world, and we have to deal with immigrants walking around everywhere, it's like a different game, a different ball game. And then of course they're trying to recreate it to racism, fascism, right? Which is ridiculous. Because if it was racist and fascist, it wouldn't have been 3/4 of the people that are Muslim, and done. So it's a psyop, it's a total psyop, where they want to bring about some type of foreign rule, right? As you can see, with the Masonic orange on. The Muslims are basically just Masons from across there, across east, So of course, it's just a psyop where they want to bring about Muslim influence in Britain, And they say anything they can to bring it about, Obviously trying to convince people that these are racist. Which again would lead some people to actually support them, to just playing all the games. And ultimately, there's going to be some type of reform upon all the constitutional laws, that's what it's about. And then you see this diversity and inclusion strategy from 2022, which again was about the time of that COVID thing, right? As you see, leveling up. So basically, to us, that's leveling down, but obviously to immigrants, that's leveling up, because it's bringing them up to our level. Basically, the entire place gets taken over by them. This one, Institute for Government, diversity in the civil service, right? But there's still more work to be done. I wouldn't like the sound of that. See, increasing diversity in the civil service is important. Talent and performance. So what I'm saying is the most talented people come from our day to run like our lands, which is